Hello class, today we're going to talk about BBOA 2 and 3. We just finished our benchmark testing, so now we're ready to do some math. So let's review BBOA 1, okay, where I gave you a model and you had to give me the rest, all right? So if we were to look at this particular model right here, you'll notice that we've got rectangles, which we know represented our x's, and we had squares that represented our constants. And if our shapes are closed, then we know that represents negative. So this particular expression then would represent 2x plus negative 3. Now another way we could write that would be 2x minus 3. And that's the way you would actually see these expressions written on a star test. Now we know that this expression then goes into our y spot. So we would put 2x plus negative 3, and then we would evaluate it for the given x values. Now we know some things about this expression now. We know that this negative 3 is always going to be, it's called the y-intercept, and it will always be found as the y value when x is 0. So I can place this negative 3 right here. Now this 2, which we call our slope, is the number that we count by. If we're counting by 1 on the left-hand side, then this slope value tells me what I'm going to count by on the right-hand side. So this says I'm counting by 2's. So if I increase from negative 3, increase by 2, I get negative 1. And if I increase by 2 again, I get positive 1. If you still have trouble doing that, look at this number line and it can help you. Okay, so here I'm at negative 3. Increase by 2 means I'm going to go to the right 2. So I go over 2, I'm at negative 1. I go over 2 more, I'm at positive 1. Well, if we're going the other direction, okay, I go back, I'm now at negative 5. And then if I go back 2 more, I now am at negative 7. So you can use that number line to help you do your counting if you need to. Now we know we take each of these expressions that we came up with here in this t-chart, and that creates a coordinate. So we've got negative 2, negative 7, which means left 2, down 7. We put a dot. The next one is left 1, down 5. Put a dot. And then right or left none, down 3. Then right 1, down 1. And then right 2, up 1. And then to finish this graph out, we play connect the dots. Now what we're going to do today is I may give you any one of these 4 situations, and you have to give me the 3 that are missing. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. That's what BBOA 2 and 3 are all about. Okay, so let's see if we can go to 1. Okay, so what if I gave you the expression? Can you go back to the model? Yes, you can. We know that negative 3x, you can represent this with longs, or in our assignment today, our x's are actually going to be represented by circles. So I'm going to, for my model, I'm going to change my x's from longs to circles. So I've got 3 x's, and each of those need to be closed because they are negative. And I have a positive 2, so that gives me 2 squares. So that would be our model. Now again, we know that this expression will go in place of the y, and we know that our y-intercept value is going to be the y value when x is 0. And this negative 3 says I'm going to decrease or move to the left on a number line by 3 as I go down. So if I'm here at 2 and I decrease 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm now at negative 1. And if I do it again, I'm going to be at negative 4. So to go up, I add 3, which gives me 5 and 8. And now we graph. So negative 2, 8 is left 2, up 8. Okay, we got to remember, if it's positive, that means go up. And then next one is left 1, up 5. And then right or left 0, up 2. And then right 1, down 1. Right 2, down 4. Okay, and again, they had a consistent pattern. They were in a linear shape. We connect our dots and we have a line. Now this one is decreasing. Our graph is decreasing. It's going downhill because our slope is negative. And that means that it's going to go downhill. So what if I gave you just a t-chart and said find the rest? Well, we know from this t-chart I can immediately go to the graph. So negative 2, negative 5, negative 1, negative 1, 0, 3, 1, 7, and 2, 11. Well, that 11 doesn't fit on my graph, so I'm just not going to graph that one. Okay, so I'm just going to have 4 because you only have to have 3 points. Now, if we can get more to fit, then we do that. But in this particular case, I can't graph 11, so I'm not going to draw the extra line for that. And I play connect the dots. So I've got my graph. Now that we know how to find an expression from a t-chart, that part becomes pretty easy as well. We know all of them will come in the form of blank x plus blank for right now. Okay, so we look for our y-intercept. If we can find it first, we do that. That will be the y value when x is 0. And then to find my slope value, I look for the pattern on the right, and I divide that by the pattern on the left. So the pattern on the right is increased by 4. The pattern on the left is increased by 1. 4 divided by 1 is 4. So we end up with 4x plus 3. Now if we use our circles for our model, for our x's, this would tell me I have 4 circles and I have 3 squares. Just like that. Okay, now the last one is the trickiest one for BBOA 2 and 3. Okay, what if I gave you the graph and said find the rest? Well, what we need to understand about this graph is that we read a graph from left to right. So what we have to do is imagine if I were to draw a line right down the middle of it, all right, and I were to take this line and move it across the graph. As it hits the points, those are the ones that I write down. So the first point it hits is this one right down here, which is going to be at -2, -7. Okay, now as I continue to move that line across, okay, so I continue to move it, it now hits this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one. So that's the order in which I write those points. Okay, so the next point that I'd have to write is this one. Okay, so that's going to be -1, -5. 1, 2, 3, excuse me, -4. The next one will be at 0, -1, and then at 1, 2, and then at 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So however many points I have graphed, that's how many that I want to find on my t-chart. Okay, so now we have our t-chart. We got that from the graph. I now can write my expression. I know my y value when x is 0 is -1. Okay, and my pattern on the right is increasing by 3. My pattern on the left is increased by 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So we could have 3x plus -1 or 3x minus 1, okay, for my expression. Now we know for the model I have to have the plus version. So 3x would be 3 x's and a square that is closed. And that's what BBOA 2 and 3 are all about. Okay, now the only significance to BBOA 2 and 3 is that one of them we'll do in class together, the BBOA 2, and then the 3 you'll have an assignment. So BBOA 2 will look something like this, where I give you the model, you give me the other 3. Okay, the second one down here, I gave you the graph, so we just looked at how to do that. So you pull off the points from the graph, create the expression, and then the model. Then on the third one here, I gave you the expression, so you find the remaining ones. And then on the fourth one, I gave you the t-chart. Right, so that's BBOA 2. BBOA 3 is the same exact thing. It's just this one's going to be done for a grade. Right, so that's how we find any of the things for BBOA, which stands for Building Blocks of Algebra. So you now, if I give you the model, can find the other 3. If I give you the expression, you can find the other 3. If I give you the t-chart, you can find the other 3. And now even if I gave you the graph, you can find the other 3. So until next time.